Hello everyone and welcome to Azam Sharp Weekly. And in this video, I'm going to cover what exactly are dispatch groups in Swift language. So let's go ahead and consider a very simple scenario where we have a client, in this case your iPhone app, and your iPhone app needs to get the review IDs from different services, including Google, Yelp, and even Nextdoor. So what we're trying to do is the iPhone app is saying that, well, I need to get reviews from Google. I need to get review IDs from Yelp. I need to get review IDs from Nextdoor. And then once we get all of those IDs, we will go ahead and update our database. So in this case, the most important part is that we need to get the ID for the reviews or the review itself from all the three different services, Google, Yelp, and Nextdoor. And only when we have all the IDs from all the three services, then we will go ahead and update our database. So how would we implement something like that in Swift language? So let's go ahead and get started. Now, for the sake of simplicity, I am using Playgrounds because there is no interface. We're just trying to learn what exactly are dispatch groups. So let's go ahead and create functions which will return us the review IDs from Google, Yelp, and even Nextdoor. Now, we're not going to connect with an actual service, but we are going to perform some sort of a fake response or a fake request, which is going to delay 2 seconds and give us some sort of an ID in the form of the callback. You can see that in the function over here, which is get review IDs from Google, we are passing a callback function, which is going to give us an integer array. We are creating an integer array. We're using the array repeating and array random. And then finally, we're calling the result or calling the completion handler with the result, which will be an array. Now let's go ahead and create the functions for review IDs from Yelp and the review ID from Nextdoor. In your actual implementation, you will be performing a request. You will have to pass in the token and authorization, all of this stuff. But right now we have these three functions which are returning some sort of an IDs from these reviews or from these review service. Now we can have a function called collect reviews IDs. So collect all review IDs. And we need to invoke all three of them. Get review ID from Google, Yelp, and Nextdoor. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create something called a dispatch group. Once we have the dispatch group, we should be able to invoke all three of them. But let's first go ahead and also create review IDs as an array where we will be collecting all the IDs into this review IDs array. Now the way the group or dispatch group actually works is that you have to call group.enter. This means that now it is kind of like initialized, and now we are moving forward in making our first request. So now I can go ahead and say get review IDs from Google. This is going to give us some sort of an IDs. We can go ahead and put all the IDs into an array. There we go. And don't forget to call group.leave. If you don't call leave, then the dispatch group will always think that you had some problems performing this kind of a request, and the dispatch group will never fire their last function, which is actually called the notify function. So we will go ahead and put group.notify. The group.notify is only going to get called if you have entered into the group and if you have left the group. The first argument is the dispatch queue. You want to notify on the main thread or on the background thread. I'm just going to say, well, let's go ahead and notify on the background thread. Next, whatever the work you want to do. In this case, we can go ahead and update the database. And let's go ahead and print out review IDs. Now we can go ahead and do the same exact thing for review IDs from Yelp. So we will do the same exact thing. And we can do the same exact thing for review IDs from Nextdoor. Keep in mind that we are calling group.leave whenever we are sure that we got the IDs from the corresponding service. If we don't call group.leave, and if I even miss one of them, then the group.notify is not going to get called. Now let's go ahead and try to run this and see what happens. Make sure that you go at the bottom and fire the function, which in this case is collect review IDs. If you don't call the function, obviously nothing is going to happen. And let's go ahead and run this. It may take time, a little bit of time, to get all the review IDs because we are holding up or dispatching after every 2 seconds. And this is Playground, so it is a little bit slow. And there we go. We were able to get the review IDs. Now, if I go and leave one of them, I forget to call the leave on the Nextdoor and try to run it again, it will keep on waiting for that particular leave to get fired. And since that particular leave never got fired, the notification function, which is group.notify, never got fired. You can even create functions in which you can pass in the dispatch group. Let's take a look at if we want to get the reviews from Amazon. We can create a function something like this. In this function is a little bit different from our Google and Nextdoor function because now the function itself, the get reviews from Amazon, is capable of performing the enter and the leave. So how do we call this function? Well, it will be pretty much the same stuff without the enter and leave. So get reviews from Amazon, we can pass in the group, and then again we will get the IDs. We will go ahead and say review IDs.append, and then we will append the IDs, which is a sequence. So in this case, we also need to get the enter and leave from Amazon, which the Amazon function is doing itself. Now let's go ahead and play. Now we will get a little bit more review IDs since we have also included Amazon. There we go. So in this lecture, you learn about how you can use the dispatch group and how dispatch group allows you to wait for certain callbacks to happen or enter or leave part to happen. And when you have enough of enter and leave, which will be equal to the amount of enter, should be equal to amount of leave, then it will allow you to call the notify. You don't really need to use dispatch group. You can do this on your own, but then you will have to keep track of a counter that you are making a request from Amazon and Yelp and Nextdoor and Google. And now if you're getting the counter to be like 4, then this means that all of the requests have succeeded. So hopefully you have liked this video about dispatch group. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel and go ahead and share this with other developers also. Thank you so much. If you want to support my work, then go to my website azamsharp.com and check out my different offerings, including the courses. I have a lot of courses on different technologies related to iOS, including my new course, which is GraphQL with iOS and SwiftUI, Core Data, Flutter, Passive Income for Developer, Writing Clean Code, and many other courses related to iOS development. You can find all the links to the courses right there in the YouTube description. Thank you so much.